The things you need to know how to do on your calculator. That's what we were talking about today. When you sit for your exam, I've said it for the last 2 years, your calculator is going to be reset. That means it's going to be back to its factory settings, meaning that your static diagnostic is going to be off and your calculator is going to be back in radian mode. Now, had this been a regular year, every time you sat for a mock, I would be resetting your calculator for you all to practice turning on your diagnostic and putting your calculator into degree mode, so it's almost programmed. But we don't have that luxury this year, so you need to make sure that these are the 2 things that when you sit for your exam and you're allowed to touch whatever's on the actual table, then this is what you need to do before you even get started, okay? Turn your stat diagnostic on and put your calculator into degree mode. So everyone with your calculator, I need you to do the following things, okay? You need to press your second button and you need to press the plus button. Second button and plus button. And then hit 7, 1, 2. Second button, plus button, 7, 1, 2. Your calculator is back into its factory settings. So what's the first thing? What are the 2 things that you need to do? Go to mode. Put it on degree. So I go down, I turn it to degree and I click enter.
Go lower and then turn the state diagnostics on.
And if you have the more advanced calculators on this same page, you can go down to stat diagnostic and you can go over to on and click enter. But as you can see, that's exactly what happens when your calculator gets reset. Now, mind you, this was a soft factory setting, okay? When you guys sit for your actual exam, it's going to be the full thing, okay? So there are going to be a few other things that are removed, but these are the 2 things that you all would need to make sure that they get fixed. If you do not have this option of static diagnostic being in your mode, because some of the calculators, especially if you're using an older version, they don't have this. You're going to want to press the second button and then the 0 button. Second 0 takes you to the catalog. So any feature of the calculator is always in your catalog. So if you get where anything is, you can always go to the catalog. Then you want to press X to the -1, because right above you'll see that green D, X to the -1, you want to click that one and then scroll down to diagnostic on. That's also where you can turn it on. And you click enter twice. So again, second 0 for the catalog, go down to the D's and turn your diagnostic on, or you can go to the mode button and turn it on that way. But again, these are the 2 things that you need to do before you even start answering any questions. So as we go over the different things of where to access in your calculator, we're also going to be reviewing, okay? A lot of this is numbers and algebra, probability and statistics, a little bit of calc and a little bit of functions, okay? So here we go. This one's very simple, pretty straightforward. It says calculate T equals that symbol PQ corrected 2 decimal places. First off, what am I going to do to P and Q?
You're going to multiply.
I'm going to multiply them and then
Do the 4th root.
And then of course you're going to round to 2 decimal places. So this particular question is making sure that you remember where to access the different types of roots at, because you may have to take the 4th root, the 5th root, the 10th root of a particular number. Where is that? Where is that located?
And now.
Math option 5. Now, depending on what type of calculator you have, if you have a fancier one like the one I'm using, I can just click 5 and it automatically pops up a blank spot for me to type in the type of root. Some of you guys don't have that option. So if I'm trying to do the 4th root, I would type 4 first, then go to math, and then option 5. And then that'll give me a 4th root as well. And since I'm multiplying these, I can legit just type it into 1, like right underneath that 4th root, okay? So refresh your memory on how to make sure you get your different types of roots. I want you guys to finish answering the rest of this question. You're taking the fourth root of P times Q. So again, that is 4, math, option 5 to have the fourth root. And since you're multiplying them, you literally can type it in exactly as you see. That is 3.32 times 10 raised to the negative 5th power. That is getting multiplied to Q, 5.67 times 10 raised to the 10th power. Close parenthesis, and you get this answer. And it says correct to 2 decimal places. It told you how to round it, so you have to round it that way. 2 decimal places would be 37 point what, somebody online?
04.
04. 37.04 would be your answer for part A. Now you have to write this in this particular form, which is scientific notation, AKA standard form, where A has to be in between 1 and 10, and K has to be what types of numbers, somebody in the classroom? Integers. So how would I write part B in that form, somebody in the classroom?
3.70 times 10 to the 1.
Well, you'll still need to put the 1 there because it's asking you to write it in that particular form. Remember, positive numbers means that you are making the number bigger. Negative exponents means the number was a smaller number, like a decimal that's less than 1. Okay. You can always check this too by typing that into your calculator, making sure, okay, well, did I actually do this correctly? Times 10 to the 1st. Yeah, same answer. Part C was pretty straightforward. Percentage error, all you have to do is follow the formula that's in your reference booklet that says what, somebody online? Somebody different, because Michaela gave you the answer to A.
The absolute value of VA minus VE over VE times 100.
Where VA stands for the
Exact. Or
Approximate.
approximate and VE is the exact.
there we go. So my approximate is going to be 40. My exact is going to be that decimal that's still sitting in my calculator over the exact. And what did we get my answer to be? Somebody online, somebody different.
7.40.
40.
Yes. Oh, wait. Yeah, wait.
Okay, let's check this. Let's double check this one. Where is absolute value? Where's that located? Talked about it last week, I think. I've been in another class. That's okay. I really don't need absolute value because I already know what absolute value does to my number, right? Makes it positive, so I really don't need it. Alpha y equals is an additional feature there in our calculator as well. Alpha y equals 40 minus that long decimal, which I'm going to type in over the long decimal, times that by 100. Okay, so we got to be careful. Got to be very, very careful. So it should be 7.99, because here I should definitely round to 3 significant figures because it didn't tell me how to round this particular part. So it's always 3 significant figures. Questions on any of the foundational stuff on this problem? Math?
No, ma'am.
Number is where absolute value is. Math, number is where absolute value is. Here's the next one. Emily deposits 2,000 Australian dollars into a bank account. The bank pays a nominal interest rate of 4%, compounded monthly. This dealt with our financial applications. Where is our financial applications feature located? Apps and finance. Which one? TBM solver, okay? What does N stand for? N stands for the number of years, but you also have to take into account any type of,
Wait, isn't it number of months?
it's always in terms of years, but you have to take into account how many times it's being compounded as well. So if it's being compounded, in this case, what? You have to multiply your number of years by 12. Monthly is 12. What does I stand for?
Interest rate.
Interest.
Do I type it in as a decimal or can I leave it as the percent?
Leave it as the
Percent.
percent.
Very good. PV,
Present value.
AKA what I start with. PMT,
Payments.
these are your payments. Now, in this particular problem, we're not talking about any type of payments. This one is strictly about a savings account. So I won't have to worry about anything in my PMT, but when I talk about loans and annuities, I would have to worry about that. What does FV stand for?
Future value.
That final amount, that future value. What does PY represent? And CY
Period. Periods and cycles in a year.
our periods per year, our cycles per year, AKA our compounding periods per year. And then beginning and end is going to be based off of the problem, okay? But again, payments and the other payment are only involved in loans and annuities, okay? Now, you don't have to use the financial application feature of your calculator for this. There is a formula in your reference booklet that can be used for these types of problems. FV equals PV 1 plus R over K times 100 to the KT. Was it K or N? Instead of T? Or instead of T? Okay. K stands for your compounding periods, N stands for your number of years, R stands for your rate as a percent, present value, future value. You can use either or to answer this particular question, okay? Just remember that when you type things in here, any money that's coming out of the person's pocket is negative. Any money that's coming out of the person's pocket is negative. So if a person's depositing some money into an account, that should be a negative number when you type it in. This as well is what you can write on your exam paper to count for your work, to count for your method. This is one of the only things that's calculator notation based that you can write on your paper and it still count for points, okay? So I'm gonna give you 5 minutes to solve this problem out. Okay, so remember for this one, if you are gonna go the app route, you need to actually write down exactly what's on your calculator screen. N equals, I equals, PV equals, and so on and so forth. I mean, granted, you don't have to use all these features because you don't have payments. You don't have periods per year or payments per year, okay? So if you did do the calculator feature, technically I only needed, I believe I only needed these few here. Okay, what you guys put for N for those who did use the calculator?
60.
60. Yep, because you would done 5 times 12. I,
4,
PV,
negative 2,000.
yep. FB is what you would have solved for because you're looking for the amount after 5 years. Did you guys put anything for CV or did you just go straight forward?
I put 12, but I don't know.
I
if
put
that's-
12 too.
Okay. All right, so let me do that. Let's see, I got 60, 4, negative 2,000. I think that makes a difference. Not quite sure. But when you use this feature to solve for whatever piece you're looking for, alpha, enter. I don't think that's right.
Is your, oh, okay.
There we go. Sorry, I should have done PY12 as well. Did you guys get this?
Yeah.
So rounding that to 2 decimal places, it should have been 2,441.99 AUD. Do not forget about your units. Do not forget about your units. Me personally, I probably would have used the formula just because I don't always trust the calculator. It's only as smart as you are because you have to know how to type everything in to get the result that you want. So I'm gonna split this one and do this next one using the formula. Emily will withdraw the money back from her bank account when the amount reaches 3,000 AUD. That means 3,000 represents what?
Future value.
Future value, because that means she's gonna withdraw her money once you reach there. So my future value is 3,000. My present value is still 2,000. My rate is 4. My compounding periods is 12. I'm just looking for the year in which that happens. Now, we'll see this a lot on certain problems where we have to solve for a variable that's in the exponent. I never taught you guys how to do logs because that was not a part of the curriculum, solving using logs at least. So what was the way that you were taught how to solve these problems?
Y
The y equals, using the calculator. So this is also what I'm going to review in this particular problem. Whenever you're solving any equation, you can always use your calculator to get your answer. Plug in the left side into y1, and then plug the right side into y2. And as long as you write out the equation of whatever it is that you're trying to solve, you can get your method points. So that's going to be 1 plus 4 over 1,200. I just went ahead and multiplied the 2, raised to the 12 times x. The one thing about solving it, though, is that you have to adjust your window. Now, granted, my calculator was reset, so I'm back to a factory -10 to 10 window. But remember, you can press Zoom option 6 to get back to that standard window. Let's say you adjust it so much that you're like, I don't even know where I am anymore. Zoom 6 will take you back to a standard window. Of course, I need to adjust it because I need to see 3,000 for my Y max. I want to see that line. And I'm going to adjust my X max because X is going to represent my years. I'm going to go ahead and open it up until maybe, let's say 25 years, because I already know after 5 years, I have about $2,400. So when I graph, what am I looking for? The intersection. How do I find the intersection?
Second trace.
Option 5. Move closer to that intersection point, even though an exponential and a line only intersect at one point. Always move closer. And then what?
Enter twice.
Enter, not twice, but 3 times. So for me, I got 10.15, so on and so forth. But I got to do it to full year. So what year is that? So that's going to be 11 full years, not 10, because technically, exactly at the start of the 10th year, she was just a little bit under 3,000. it was sometime in that 10th year that she ends up hitting 3,000 to withdraw. But let's talk about an amortization annuities type of problem here, okay? If IB gives you this bolded header before any question, that means it applies to the entire question, okay? Or whatever parts it says. So exact is out the window, 3 significant figures is out the window. All the answers to these parts need to be given to 2 decimal places, okay? This still deals with, now this one you would have to do using the apps feature. I've already gone over it, so I want to give you guys 5 minutes here to work this one out, okay? So you have 5 minutes for this one. All right, so Stella receives a loan of 32,000 euros for a flower shop business at an interest rate of 5.29% per year, compounded monthly. She agrees to pay back the loan in 60 equal installments made at the end of each month over the next 5 years. So everything you need to fill in the table or this information into the apps is given. She receives a loan. That represents what? Like what part in the apps? It represents your present value. Interest rate of 5.29, that is going to be our per year compounded monthly. That's going to be what? That's technically going to be CY, but she's going to pay back the loan at the end of each month. That's technically going to be our PY. She's paying every month. There's 12 months. At the end, that gives us our PMT. She pays in 60 equal installments. So that's going to be our N. And I'm looking for the amount of her monthly installment, which means I'm looking for PMT, the very first PMT. What's my future value going to be? 0. Because once you pay back the loan, that means your future value's got to be 0. Since she's getting money from somebody else, that's why present value is positive. I'm looking for the payment, future value of 0. PY and CY are both 12. So I go to payment, alpha, enter. So how much are her payments each month? 608.14 euros, or you would do the symbol. Yeah. Mhm. Oh, right here.
Oh.
Yeah, so then that's why we keep it to that versus rounding up or down. Now, 4 years after she starts repaying, 4 years of 12 monthly payments is how much? 48. She decides to repay the rest in a final single installment. So how much does she owe at the end of 4 years? So the things that are going to change is my N to 48. We are trying to figure out the future value now, right? After 4 years. So this is exactly what I would write. And then under FV is where I would put the answer. Because technically that's what we're looking for. So alpha, enter. So she's going to still owe 7,092.81. Questions? Okay. So let's keep on going. We're going to work through this one together. This time just continues to slip away from me when I'm going over this type of stuff. It says the amount of fuel in a car's tank, V in liters, can be modeled by a linear function, where X is the distance driven in kilometers. V is the fuel liters, and M represents your slope. X is your distance. After driving 100 kilometers, the amount of fuel in the tank is 33 liters. What would be an equation that describes that? Well, we already have an example. What would the 100 represent and what would the 33 represent?
33 equals M plus 100 plus C.
M times 100 plus C, or essentially 100M plus C. After driving 250 kilometers, the amount of fuel is 22.5. So what's the next equation?
22.5 equals 200.
What does this look like? Or what is this? System of equation. Now, if you remember how to do this algebraically, elimination or substitution, by all means do it, okay? But if you forgot how to do this, or you were never good at solving a system of equation, there was a feature in your calculator that we went over in your junior year of how to do this. It was located in apps as well, option 9, Simult 2. Now, if you don't have that, then you got to kind of resort back to solving a system the other way. But apps, option 9, then you want to go to number 2, simultaneous equation solver. We have 2 equations, 2 unknowns. Everything else can be left how it was, because remember, our calculator got reset, so everything's back to its factory settings. Hit graph, that's how you get to the next feature, and you literally type in your equation, 100 for X, 1 for Y, which essentially represents C, 33, 250, 1, 22.5. Then when you go to solve, it gives you exactly what you want. I am going to need to convert that into a decimal. Then -7 over 100. Okay, so then that means that C is going to equal 40. And can someone do -7 divided by 100 for me and tell me what M equals?
Wouldn't it just be -0.07?
Thank you. So my equation is V equals -0.07x plus 40. So when it asks me the amount of fuel in the tank after driving 50 kilometers, I would have to plug 50 in for which variable?
X.
To find the amount of the fuel. And that's how I would answer part C. But again, this is just another feature. You don't have to use this. You can easily solve this using elimination by multiplying the second equation by a negative and then canceling out. What are you checking here for?
I don't know how to do that.
Seriously?
Yeah, I forgot.
Make all these negative. That cancels out your C's. So then 33 minus 22.5. You'll have 10.5 equals -150M. Divide both sides. And you can get M. Plug it in to find C.
I think we did this in algebra 2.
Algebra 2, algebra 1, ACT, SAT. So remember, all these problems, you use your calculator in some shape, way, or form, something that you should know how to do, just in case. 2 carpet cleaner companies have different pricing structures. Carpet Shine charges 180 AUD per square meter, plus an upfront scheduling fee of 50 AUD. Cleanmaster has no scheduling for a service fee, but a rate of 250 AUD per square meter. Let C1 and C2 be the cost in AUD of cleaning X square meters of carpet area by the 2 companies. What type of model is this? It is another system of what kind of equations? Are these sinusoidal equations? Exponential equations? Quadratic equations?
Sounds linear.
Sounds linear. If you're paying an upfront scheduling fee of $50 and 180 per square meter, how do you represent that?
The line going
There's a line going up from 50, so 50 is your y-intercept, and 180 is your slope. Because 180 per square meter plus a $50 service fee or scheduling fee. The second company, do they charge a scheduling fee? But they charge how much? So this could be another system where this C1 and C2 are Y. But these will be your two equations, and it says find the least number of whole square meters of carpet area cleaned by the carpet shine for its service to be the cheaper option. What does that mean? Find the least number of whole square meters of carpet area cleaned by Carpet Shine, AKA the first company, for its services to be the cheaper option. Exactly. So I need to graph both functions. I'm gonna graph 180x plus 50. That's gonna be my blue line. That's the company I am concerned about. 250x is the second company. Now remember, I changed my window for the last one. So I might want to adjust this a tad bit. Otherwise, that's what I'm going to have, and I don't want that. Let's bring my Y max down. Y represents the cost. This is a cleaning company. If you're spending more than $200 to clean your carpet, you're getting ripped off a tad bit. So bring it down some. Okay. I got to open up my X window. Probably not that much, but oh, well, yeah. Where do I find intersection at?
Second trace.
Option 5. So 71.4 is X. So what's the least number of whole square meters?
72.
It would be 72. You will want to set them equal to each other. You could draw a makeshift graph of where they intersect to indicate that's what you're looking for. That could count as well as method points. If anything's not making sense, you let me know. A farmer's going to fence 2 equal adjacent parcels of land. These parcels share one side, which also requires fencing. As shown in the following diagram, the farmer only has 80 meters of fencing. Fencing is also known as what? Somebody online?
Perimeter.
It's known as perimeter. Okay, and so if he's fencing in 2 equal adjacent parcels of land, share one side, that also requires fencing. What is the equation for the total length of fence, 80 centimeters in terms of X and Y? Somebody online, somebody online.
1/2 base times height.
That is, that's the area for a triangle. Here we got our rectangles. And on top of that, we're talking about for the fencing. So that means we need perimeter.
Would it be 2x plus 4y?
Close. It is 4y because you have these, but it's not 2x. It's actually
3x?
It's actually 3x. And that's going to equal 80. That's our equation. So we got a fence and everything. Now it does say write down the total area of both parcels of land in terms of X. Okay? Area of both parcels. They're equal, aren't they? So what's the area of this first one?
X times Y.
And this one up here?
Same.
X times Y.
So their total area is a 2xy, but if it says in terms of x, that means y has got to be in terms of x. How do I do that online? How can I get
We
y?
can
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
we can solve for x in the first equation from A,
Solve
or
for,
solve for y.
solve for y. How would I do that?
Subtract 3x from both sides. And then divide that by 4. So then it'd be 20 minus 3/4 x. And then you'd plug that into the new equation from B.
So then my total area would be 40x minus 3/2 x squared. X squared means I'm dealing with the what?
Exponential. No.
Quadratic. The one thing I want to show you guys about quadratics using the calculator is the next part, because it's asking you to find the maximum area of one parcel of land. The maximum area. Of course, we can do negative b over 2a and then plug it in to find the maximum area. Or we can look at the graph and find the maximum point, okay? Downsides, I have to adjust this some so I can see it. There we go. How do I find the maximum in a calculator? Anybody?
The second case.
Second trace, option 4. I go to the left of the maximum and click enter. I go to the right of the maximum and click enter. Then I click enter one last time and it gives me my maximum height. Which part of the coordinate do I want though?
The x, since you're solving for x.
But it's asking me for my area. And this equation is A equals blah, 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 X. So X will give me my dimension that gives me my maximum area, but the Y is my actual maximum area. That's the one thing you gotta be careful of. Remember what your variables represent, especially in context of a problem. If I did it algebraically, I would have wanted to do negative b over 2a to find the x value. Then I could plug that into the area equation to find the maximum area. But I can also do that using my calculator by graphing the function and finding that coordinate. So when you plug in 13.333 repeating, or 13 1/3, you get 266 2/3.
You're not done.
Am I not?
It says one parcel of land, that's for 2.
Oh. Yep, and that was both. So then what do I have to do to it?
Divide by 2.
Divide by 2. Good catch. So that's gonna be 133. Yep, 133. So then that'll be our final answer. Ooh, tricky, tricky. But again, all these questions we posted for you guys. So if you want to go back and look at them in more detail, you can. Moving on to statistics and probability, John decided to build a stone fence around his house and lay a stone walkway. He ordered a large bag of stones. The first chose a random sample of 50 stones for measuring. He measured the diameters of the stones to the nearest centimeter and the following frequency distribution of those meters. I had to find the mean and standard deviation of these stones. This deals with what concept from our curriculum? To find the mean and the standard deviation deals with what part of our curriculum?
Statistics.
Statistics, which means which button am I going to press? Stat. And I have to go to edit. That's where I put in all of my information. When your memory gets clear, your lists get cleared as well. So you're starting with a fresh list, okay? 14, 15, 16, everybody should be typing these in because we're trying to get that muscle memory back of how to do all of these different things. How do I find the mean and the standard deviation? What do I have to do? Stat, calc, which option? It's either one or two. Remember, it's either one variable, two variables. It's only one variable. We're talking about the diameter of the stones, okay? So I got a list in L1. Do I have a frequency list? So what do I need to do? Second 2 for L2. Send me if you're using your older calculator, remember it's L1, comma, L2. Make sure you press that comma right there. Go down to calculate and click enter. Which symbol means mean? The X with the line on top. Which one means standard deviation? The little circle with the line, okay? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines down. So that's how we find mean and standard deviation. Y'all remember this? Look how this statistics project, so Jesus, it should still be somewhat familiar. John assumes that the diameters of all stones in the bag are normally distributed with a mean of 16 and standard deviation of 1.1. I picked this problem because it hit two things in one. I was like, yes. John sorts all stones by their diameter size. Remember, normal distribution curves. They're that bell curve where what is in the middle? Go louder.
Median.
Not the median, the mean. And this is exactly how you show your work on these problems. Do not do any type of calculator notation, no normal CDF, nothing. You draw the normal distribution curve and do the correct shading. So John selects stones with diameters that are 18 centimeters or greater. It's 18 to the left or the right of the mean. The right. And if it's 8 centimeters or greater, am I shading to the left or to the right of that line? That's greater. Estimate the percentage of stones used. Percentage. Where was normal distribution located? Distribution. Where is distributions located? Second bars. It got distri right there. Second bars. Is it PDF or CDF? Always. Normal distribution is always CDF, normal CDF. It's the binomial distribution that we have to determine if it's PDF or CDF. So remember, we had the whole lower bound, upper bound, mean, standard deviation. What's my lower bound to represent that shaded region? 18. What's my upper? 9, E99. Second comma is how you get the E. 99. My mean was 16 and my standard deviation was 1.1. Do not write that on your paper. You show the diagram with the shading to represent the situation. But my answer is the percentage. This is the probability. What's the percentage? .45%. Yeah.
I didn't follow what you just did.
So now John selects small stones which have a diameter less than X centimeters to use for a walkway border. The small stones account for 5% of the total number of stones. Calculate the value of X. This one deals with a different part of normal distribution. He selects small stones that have a diameter of X. In other words, you don't know what it is, but you do know that the small stones account for 5% of the total number of stones. So 5% of the stones are X centimeters.
X inverse in norm and the norm.
You use the inverse norm to find the X value. So second vars, option 3. Again, you use inverse norm when you're looking for an X value. When you're looking for a number that's along that X axis of the normal distribution. Normal CDF is you use for a probability. So you go to option 3. You type in the area. Now, if your calculator does not have left, right, and center, you always do the area that's to the left of that line. So if your calculator does not say tail, you always do the probability that's to the left of that line, because that's all the calculator can do. Area is 5%. Do I type in 5?
0.05.
I type in 0.05. You gotta type in the probability. Mean is 16, standard deviation is 1.1. If your calculator does have the option of left, center, or right, you can change it depending on the shading.
Was CDF the same way or for you? For CDF, was it the same way that it's only the first one on the left?
No, CDF, it doesn't, you type in the bounds. So then that indicates whether it's the left or right or the center. You go to paste. So the X value is going to be 14.2. So stones that have a diameter of 14.2 centimeters, that makes up 5% of the total. Anything less than 14.2 make up 5% of the total number of stones. Questions on that? The next part, John selects medium stones to use for the fence. So large stones are bigger than 18, small stones are less than 14.2, what we just found. So medium stones is everything that's what? In between. So red is small, blue is large. So green is going to be medium. So that's everything in between. Am I using normal CDF or inverse norm? I'm using normal. Why am I using normal CDF?
You have bounds and it's not finding that number like that X.
What am I looking for?
Percentage.
I'm looking for a percentage, AKA a probability. That's what normal CDF does. It finds a probability. I forgot what the long number was. Otherwise I would use that instead of 14.2. but that is the probability of it being a medium stone. What's the percentage? I do not like that. Hold on. 1906, 1906. Remember, the more you round, you're off. So if I use a few decimal places, I get closer to the more exact. So it's not, so it's gonna be 91.5. It's actually 91.6. I should use more numbers.
Would they be at the window where they will tap questions, answer?
Just realize the more you round, the further you're gonna be away from your answer. So if I written those down, I would have used all those decimals that were in the calculator, because at least then I have 8 decimal places, and that's far enough out that it won't affect the 3 significant figure number, like this one did. Last little bit of review really doesn't involve the calculator, but it says estimate. John estimates that there's 1,000 stones in total, 10,000 stones in total. Estimate the number of large stones. How many large stones should he have?
3.45% of them.
How do you figure that out of 10,000 stones? By? Not people, but stones. This is called expected value. Remember, expected value is when you multiply your number that you have, 10,000 stones, by the probability. I'm going to pull that number down because I don't want any rounding issues. So how many stones is that going to be?
345.
345, because you cannot account for, since it was 0.18, you can't account for that 82% of that next stone. Just hit it. All right. For this particular problem, remember, whenever you have a grouped frequency table, to find the mean or standard deviation, what do you have to use?
Middle point.
You got to use the midpoints whenever it is a grouped frequency table. So your midpoints would go into L1, your number of players, AKA your frequency, would go into L2 to find mean and standard deviation. Pearson product moment correlation coefficient. If you do not turn your diagnostic on, you are not going to see that number. So remember, when your calculator gets reset, you won't see R. But once you turn it on, you will see R. To find R, remember, you go to Stat, Edit, type in your data. But once you type in your data, then you go back to Stat, you go over to Calc, and then you go to option 4. Stat, Calc, option 4 is where you go to get not only your linear regression equation, but your correlation coefficient. You need to make sure that frequency list is empty. There should not be anything in frequency list when you're doing your correlation coefficient or your regression line. Then when you go down to calculate, there's R. Now, mind you, this is from the data that we typed in earlier, not for this particular example. But I'm just hitting the things that you need to remember. So for correlation coefficient and your regression line, you go to Stat, Calc, LinReg. Your X list is in L1, your Y list is in L2, frequency list is empty. Then you go to calculate, and that's how you get your linear regression equation and your correlation coefficient. This problem here deals with binomial distribution. Second bars, Options A and B are where binomial distribution is. Second bars, options A and B. PDF and CDF. You have to use both depending on the problem. PDF is when you're looking for one particular value. Like here, find the probability that Jack answers exactly 4 questions. Exactly 4, that would be PDF. CDF is when you have a range of values. So here where it says he answers more than 4, you would use CDF. Because more than 4 means greater than 4, a range, but exactly 4 means one value. So you would use PDF to answer BI, and then CDF to answer BII. Okay? When I go to binomial CDF, I can only do values that are less than that number. So in order for me to answer part BII of more than 4 questions, I have to do 1 minus the probability of being less than or equal to 4 questions. That's called the complement. If I know the probability of answering 4 questions or less than 4 questions, 1 minus that probability will give me more than 4 questions. Your trials is your number of questions. P stands for your probability, and it says it contains 4 possible answers and only 1 is correct, so that's 1 out of 4. I would type in 4 for my X value, and that's the probability that I answer 4 or less questions correctly. If I want the probability of answering more than 4 questions correctly, I want the complement. So my answer should be 0.585.
Can I see your, the CDF again?
Second bars, A or B. They both look the same. It's just one says C and one says P.
But wasn't it supposed to be 3 and lower?
No, because it says more than 4 questions correctly. So that's 5, 6, 7, all the way to 20.
Okay. So it will be 4 or more if supposed to put it.
At least 4 would be 4 or more. All right. A few other things to hit, chi-squared. Remember, I am recording this, so if you guys need to go back and watch this, y'all can and do the problems. I suggest that as good practice. Remember to find expected number of females. We talked about this, who purchase goldfish. You take the total of the goldfish, you multiply it by the total female, and you divide it by the overall total. That's how you find expected value. Yes, you can also retrieve it from your matrix B, but that's how you algebraically find it. Second, x to the -1 is where you access your matrices. Second, x to the -1. Go over to edit and edit matrix A based off of how many rows and how many columns you have. Type in your data. Quit out of that. Do not try to run your test inside of the matrix. Quit out of it. Stat, test. Option C is where chi-squared is. Option D is where goodness of fit test is, depending on which one. It still goes in the same way. As long as you put your observed data, the original data in matrix A, you won't have to change any of this. And then there's your answer. So second x to the -1, that's where you type in your data into the matrix. Stat test is where you actually get the chi-squared test. Running a t-test, you type in your data into your list, uneven and all. It's not even, you still type it in the way that it is. Once your data is in your list, stat test two sample t-test is where you will run your t-test. Stat test two sample t-test. As long as you have your data in L1 and L2 properly, you're good to go. Remember, you have to figure out which option is going to be based off of your alternative hypothesis. Is either going to be not equal to, less than, or greater. And pool is always,
Yes.
you see what happens when your calculator's reset? It goes to no. So you want to make sure, that's another thing, this is new. Because t-test was added in this year, so I didn't know that was what happens when it gets factory reset. So that's maybe something that you want to add. Pooled should be yes. Pooled should be yes for your t-test. Remember, if the p-value is less than the significance level, you reject. Okay, and that's standard across the board for chi-squared and t-test. I don't know what else gonna have you guys do on your own. Last thing where you need to know with your calculator is how to find the integral. Remember, that's math, option 9. Math option 9. And that's how you'll be able to find the area from 0 to 6 of your function. Just make sure that you include the dx at the end. And it gives you your area. And even though I had to kind of rush through those last little bit of things because we're running out of time, you go back and watch the video and pause it and you follow along and do the problem, you'll be able to get that muscle memory on how to do integrals, t-test, chi-squared, correlation, and linear regression. Those are the ones, and binomial PDF and CDF. Those are the ones I kind of had to speed through a little bit. Okay. And again, I will post this file that has all these questions and I'll post the answers with it. So use these as studying tools as you prepare for your exam that is in 2 weeks.